The Turner Diaries, inside the infamous book that inspired extremism. It's been called the most dangerous book in America, a fictional manifesto that has inspired real-world violence and shaped the ideology of extremist groups. But what exactly is the Turner Diaries, and why does it continue to influence radical movements today? Let's dive into the dark and disturbing world of this controversial novel. This investigative journey dives into the dark origins of the Turner Diaries, its violent themes, and how it became a rallying cry for extremists across the globe. But this is more than just the story of a book. It's the story of how words, when wielded with malice, can stoke hatred, radicalize the disillusioned, and spark real-world harm. The story begins with William Luther Pierce, an American physicist turned political extremist. Under the pseudonym Andrew MacDonald, Pierce penned the Turner Diaries in 1978, self-publishing it through his white supremacist organization, the National Alliance. In this book, Pierce created a stark dystopian future where a violent uprising topples the US government, leading to a so-called racially pure society. The novel was niche at first, circulating mostly in the hands of far-right militants and small extremist groups. Yet its disturbingly vivid narratives, couched behind the veil of fiction, made it a sinister bestseller within these circles. Its origins were rooted in Pierce's own political and racial views, making it less an imaginative tale and more a manifesto. So what's in this book that makes it so infamous? The story is told through the fictional diaries of Earl Turner, a member of a white supremacist group called the Organization. This group wages a guerrilla war against a multicultural government they call oppressive and tyrannical. The novel graphically chronicles acts of mass violence, including bombings, assassinations, and even genocide, all under the guise of reclaiming freedom and purity. Its climax depicts the total annihilation of non-white populations, a disturbingly hyper-violent vision euphemistically labeled as the Day of the Rope in the story. Through Earl Turner's perspective, the novel frames these horrifying actions not just as necessary, but as moral imperatives. In essence, it glorifies violence and frames hatred as heroism. Critics often refer to the Turner Diaries as a Bible of hate or manual for terrorism. And for good reason. While it's labeled as fiction, the book nearly reads like a how-to guide, detailing methods for waging guerrilla warfare. It describes how to build bombs, organize cells, and operate outside the bounds of law. Its most alarming aspect is the seamless merging of ideology and instruction. For individuals hungry for a cause, the book provides both a worldview and a roadmap to action. This combination proved to be a recipe for tragedy, as the book started moving beyond the confines of fiction and into the real world. The most infamous real-world event tied to the Turner Diaries took place in 1995, the Oklahoma City bombing. Timothy McVeigh, convicted for orchestrating the attack, was heavily inspired by the book. The bombing, which killed 168 people, mirrored a fictional bombing described in the book almost precisely. McVeigh carried a copy of the Turner Diaries in his car and even marked specific passages that resonated with him. But McVeigh isn't the only one. Over the decades, extremist groups and individuals have cited the book as inspiration for hate crimes and terror plots. For example, members of the Order, a white supremacist group active in the 1980s, directly drew from the book's violent rhetoric and ideas to carry out robberies, murders, and other crimes. The book's influence is sprawling and terrifying, a prime example of ideology translating into catastrophic real-world harm. One question looms. How did a relatively obscure self-published novel amass such influence? The answer lies in its appeal to emotion and identity. For individuals feeling alienated, disillusioned, or angry, the Turner Diaries offers validation and purpose. It creates an us versus them dichotomy, framing its readers as heroic warriors in a fight for survival. The detailed violence in the book isn't just shock value, it's a rallying call. At its core, the novel taps into deep-seated fears and frustrations, weaponizing them in service of its hateful ideology. Extremist leaders realized the book's potential as a recruitment tool and pushed it within their circles, cementing its status as required reading for budding radicals. The 1995 Oklahoma City bombing was a seismic moment, not just because of the devastating loss of life, but because it exposed the depths of far-right extremism lurking beneath the surface of American society. Timothy McVeigh's connection to the Turner Diaries forced mainstream attention onto the book for the first time. The eerie parallels between the attack in the novel and the real-world bombing left the public and authorities grappling with tough questions. Could the power of words be held accountable for acts of violence? And how should society deal with dangerous content that, while fictional, has a clear and direct link to harm? Despite intense scrutiny, the rise of the internet breathed new life into the Turner Diaries. The digital age allowed the book to spread like wildfire to audiences far removed from its original niche. PDFs, extremist forums, and digital communities kept the book accessible, making it a fixture among far-right groups. Online, the book's influence morphed, no longer confined to white supremacist groups or small militias. It became part of a broader ecosystem of extremist propaganda, mingling with memes, manifestos, and videos that share the same intent: radicalization and action. Given the Turner Diaries' role in inspiring terrorism, arguments about its circulation have raged for years. Should it be banned? Or does censorship risk turning it into a forbidden fruit, further fueling its allure? Advocates for banning cite its role in promoting violence and extremism. However, free speech proponents caution against erasing even the most hateful materials, arguing that censorship can create a dangerous precedent. It's a delicate, ongoing debate, one that grapples with the broader issue of how societies should handle dangerous ideas without undermining foundational freedoms. While the Turner Diaries is an extreme case, it raises broader concerns about the intersection of fiction and reality. History has seen other works, be it books, movies, or manifestos, reshape ideologies, incite unrest, or provide blueprints for revolution. Words are powerful, capable of both profound good and unimaginable harm. In the case of extremist literature, the line between imagination and incitement blurs. For some, works of fiction become gospel. The consequences highlight the need for vigilance, not just in consumption, but in understanding how such ideas spread. The Turner Diaries exemplifies how potent messaging can draw individuals into extremism. Extremist groups exploit identity crises, isolation, and resentment, offering belonging, purpose, and power. The book complements this recruitment strategy by acting as both a catalyst and a narrative framework. It's more than just propaganda. It's an emotional and psychological weapon. It makes hatred seem rational, violence seem heroic, and the enemy seem subhuman. Understanding this process is key to combating its effects. In light of the book's impact, efforts to counter its influence have become critical. Educators, law enforcement, and activists are working to debunk the messages prevalent in the Turner Diaries and similar materials. Programs focusing on de-radicalization, particularly for those already exposed to or involved with extremist ideologies, are vital. Media literacy is another crucial tool in this fight, helping individuals recognize and critically evaluate harmful narratives before they take root. The story of the Turner Diaries is a cautionary tale. It underscores the dark paths ideology can take and the responsibility societies bear in curbing dangerous rhetoric before it spills into reality. It's a sobering reminder of how fringe ideas, left unchecked, can snowball into mainstream tragedies. By understanding its historical context, influence, and methods, we become better equipped to confront extremism in all its forms. The first step in diffusing hatred is recognizing its many familiar faces, and the Turner Diaries is one of its most haunting. As we reflect on the chilling legacy of the Turner Diaries, the message is clear. Words have power. Left unchecked, hateful rhetoric can grow into an unstoppable force of destruction. But we, as individuals and as a society, have the tools to fight back. Let's educate ourselves and others on the dangers of extremist literature. Let's promote dialogue, critical thinking, and media literacy. And most importantly, let's remain vigilant, because while the Turner Diaries represents a dark chapter, the future is still ours to write.